Hello friends, welcome to my new channel, By Preponderance, a channel where we weight the evidence fairly and justly and draw reasonable conclusions based on the totality of the circumstances. I appreciate you stopping by. I wasn't planning on launching the channel until later on, but because this channel is going to be all about truth, getting to the bottom of things and examining and discussing different topics from various perspectives, I think this particular video begs to be made, considering that there is an important lawsuit out there right now that I would like to discuss. And I'm talking about the lawsuit recently filed against one of Dave Ramsey's companies. We will also use this opportunity to show viewers what a timeshare contract looks like and why they are usually a bad idea. I thought, why not put together a quick video for you to review? And of course, if you have any opinions or thoughts that you care to share, I would love to hear them. Please put that down in the comments section. So let's dive in. I'm making this video specifically in reference to the lawsuit that was just filed against Dave Ramsey, or more specifically, the Ramsey Show, as well as other parties. The lawsuit alleges that Dave Ramsey, through his show and through one of his companies, defrauded his listeners, or at least was part of a conspiracy to defraud listeners. The main complaints in the lawsuit, which is a $150 million lawsuit, are allegations that Dave Ramsey, along with a company called Timeshare Exit Team, and other defendants engaged in misrepresentation and conspired to defraud clients and were unjustly enriched as a result. This lawsuit was filed by 17 different plaintiffs, and as you may already know, the plaintiff is the person that initiates a lawsuit, the person or entity that is suing and complaining about bad actions of some other persons or entities. In this case, Dave Ramsey's show, through one of its entities, is named as one of the defendants. So usually when you have a class action lawsuit, you have a few representative plaintiffs, meaning that you have a few plaintiffs that have complaints that would represent the class. The class is the bigger group of people who have been wronged by similar acts or methods of the named defendants, and who suffered similar damages or injury. So I think these attorneys that filed this lawsuit, they hope to get more defendants to join the lawsuit in future. And that way it becomes even bigger as far as the monetary damages go. There is a period of time in which additional parties can be added to the lawsuit as the lawsuit goes on. The current plaintiffs that are named will be the representative members of that class, which is the bigger group. So right now we have a lawsuit that's alleging that there was some sort of fraud and conspiracy to defraud people. And this particular company that's in the middle of it is called the Timeshare Exit Team. And that company was endorsed by Dave Ramsey on his show, The Ramsey Show. It appears that Dave Ramsey endorsed this company between 2015 and 2021. In 2021, he stopped his endorsement of the company, I think because that company was already having some lawsuits against it. Between 2018 and 2021, Dave Ramsey more actively promoted this company on his radio show, which is also a podcast, which also has a YouTube channel, Instagram, and Facebook page. So he was promoting this Timeshare Exit Team company everywhere, all over social media. And he had mentioned in one of his videos, where he went on a rant against the timeshare companies out there, that he had been looking for years for a company that could help get people out of the timeshare contracts. He would regularly mention on his show that he finally found a good company called Timeshare Exit Team. He would tell listeners that Timeshare Exit Team was reputable and would help people get out of their timeshare contracts. Now, why would people want to get out of their timeshares in the first place? We'll talk about that in a few minutes, but the lawsuit alleges generally that there was fraud involved and that Dave Ramsey, being an unofficial financial advisor and a prominent influencer, should have known that this company was no good and was only out to defraud people. People, of course, are the many listeners that Dave Ramsey sent over to Timeshare Exit Team by endorsing this company on his channel, which is millions and millions of people every day. He had millions of listeners. After a while, those listeners, following Dave's promotion, they contacted the Timeshare Exit Team, and it looks like this company actually didn't do what it promised. It didn't deliver. So people are very upset because, on average, the Timeshare Exit Company was charging people $5,000 to be able to help them get out of their timeshares. And that company allegedly falsely informed people or led them to believe that the work was completed, that they were no longer obligated to make payments on their timeshare contracts, and that they were clear of that burden. Later in this video, I'll show you what a typical timeshare contract looks like. I'll only show you snippets because of confidentiality issues. But this particular illustration is from one of the cases that I worked on, and I did help the clients get a settlement agreement with this timeshare company, and the clients were able to get out from under the debt and move on before too much debt had accrued. Before the couple came to me, they already had purchased the timeshare and were trying to get out of it, but didn't know how. They had stopped making the payments after they realized it was a bad deal and that they had made a terrible mistake. We'll examine what a sample contract looks like, and you'll understand why these contracts are horrible. and why nobody should really enter into them. Because 99% of the time, they don't make financial sense. Going back to the Timeshare Exit Team lawsuit, so what is this lawsuit really about? The lawsuit is saying that the Timeshare Exit Company didn't do anything to help people as it had promised, and that the company collected money from all these people and lied to them about having done the work. And so how does Dave Ramsey come into play in all of this? Well, the lawsuit alleges that Dave Ramsey did not tell listeners that he was affiliated with that Timeshare Exit Company when he was endorsing the company on his channel, and that he did not disclose that he was getting paid to promote the company. The lawsuit implies that there was a duty to let people know that he, Dave Ramsey, was affiliated with that Timeshare Exit Company and that he was getting paid for his endorsement of the company. Now, I have in the past listened to some of the videos from the Ramsey Show myself. I listen to the Ramsey Show sometimes when I'm driving or doing menial tasks and want something inspirational in the background. I like to hear the callers calling in about their success stories and how they went from little income to decent income, or went from a ton of debt to being debt-free. On some of those calls, I have heard Dave recommend the Timeshare Exit Team, but I do not quite recall whether Dave Ramsey ever mentions that he gets paid to promote Timeshare Exit Team, or that he is affiliated with the company. If you know, please put that in the comments. Do you remember clearly whether Dave Ramsey has mentioned that he does have an affiliation with Timeshare Exit Team, or that he was paid to endorse them? If you actually recall ever hearing that on some of his videos, put that in the comments below because I'd love to know. Some of my friends said, yeah, they believe that Dave did tell listeners that he was getting paid, but I don't remember hearing that whenever I heard him talk about this company. I certainly remember that he does endorse realtors as well, real estate agents, and he tells listeners, go on our website, look for an agent in your area. We vetted them, and he doesn't really tell people that he gets paid by those agents. You would think it's common knowledge or a common understanding that money exchanges hands, but most people don't really know about the behind the scenes, unless they are in the industry. The realtors that he indirectly promotes on his websites are also paying to be on that website. So you want somebody that's 100% neutral to recommend a realtor to you. You wouldn't go on the Dave Ramsey website either. The realtors pay a significant monthly or yearly fee to be able to be featured and recommended by Dave Ramsey. So that's just how it is in the capitalist society, isn't it? I just wanted to mention that to make sure that we are all aware of the hidden arrangements if you're watching this video. But let's go back to this timeshare issue. So what's really the problem? Is there a problem at all as far as Dave Ramsey is concerned? Well, the problem here is that the $150 million lawsuit alleges mainly that there was misrepresentation and that there was unjust enrichment and some conspiracy to defraud people. So what's misrepresentation? Well, that's when somebody misstates the facts or omits facts that are important for you to make a decision whether you're going to enter into a contract with that person, or to make a decision whether you're going to buy something from that person. Usually under consumer law, misrepresentation is more obvious when the seller is a professional or poses as a professional or expert in an industry, and thereby sells you something that's not what you thought you were getting or under terms and conditions different from what you had been promised or led to believe. Misrepresentation is a little bit more active than omission usually. For example, omission is when you don't tell a potential buyer that the car that you were selling has been in 10 accidents and that the transmission is faulty. But when you misrepresent the facts, that's when somebody asks you, has this car been in an accident before? And you say, it's never been an accident. Well, you know it really has been. So you see, there's a slight difference there, but you could still misrepresent by omission if there is a requirement to report or to disclose. So is there a requirement to disclose in Ramsey's situation? Let's consider the three things in the complaint, which are misrepresentation, unjust enrichment, and conspiracy. We have to look at these for each defendant in the lawsuit. Dave Ramsey's show was not the only one sued. The $150 million lawsuit is against all the defendants. When we are looking at the actual company that was supposed to be entering into contract with the listeners, the Timeshare Exit Company, its legal duty is much higher than the duty that Dave Ramsey has. Because that's the company that was signing the contracts with the listeners. Dave Ramsey was simply just saying, I would suggest you call these people because they're the best that I know of. And so is there a duty for Dave Ramsey's show to have done extensive research on this company? Is there a duty also that Dave Ramsey's show disclosed that they were getting paid by that company? The lawsuit alleges that over the course of those years, between 2015 and 2021, that the Ramsey Show collected about $30 million from Timeshare Exit Team for endorsing this company. That's a significant amount of money over the course of 6 years. I would think that there is some sort of duty to disclose. A lot of influencers or celebrities or people that are in a position of authority or are some sort of public figure, they're typically very careful to let people know. I'm affiliated with that company that I just mentioned. This is the best approach, in my opinion, and what most legal counsel would recommend. You don't have to say something like, this is the best VPN provider out there, but I had to tell you that I'm affiliated with them or own shares in the company. I'll be surprised if the Ramsey Show did not disclose its affiliation at all on any of the videos when endorsing this Timeshare Exit Team. I'm definitely going back to listen to some of the Ramsey videos because I remember specifically there was a rant video that I saw during the pandemic. Dave Ramsey was raving and ranting about timeshare companies and how they're terrible and how they shouldn't be legal. And I agree with him on those points. I think in that specific video, he must have endorsed the timeshare exit company that is now in the center of this current lawsuit. So anyway, I have already covered what misrepresentation is from a legal standpoint. But what about the part about unjust enrichment? Unjust enrichment is a legal principle derived from Roman law, which says that it is just that no one be enriched by another's loss or injury. It's a remedy based in equity, meaning that it's unfair to the plaintiff for a defendant to get away with making money off of the plaintiff if that defendant was acting in bad faith. So let's say there was truly misrepresentation in this case. There would be unjust enrichment because the defendants did not legitimately acquire or legitimately earn the money that they took or the money that they got paid. They actually got it fraudulently. So then they were unjustly enriched by the ignorance of the parties that they defrauded, and that ignorance being due to hiding of information or lying outright. That's really what unjust enrichment is, and the plaintiff usually asks for a recoupment of that money that was lost. Basically, to get the money paid back, which is called restitution. So was Dave Ramsey unjustly enriched by endorsing these people when he should have known that they were fraudsters, or was he unjustly enriched by endorsing them without warning his listeners to do their own research? Should he have done that, and would that have been enough? So that depends on the judges or the jury. This one will be a jury trial. A jury would determine what should have happened. That would be interesting because the jurors will be regular consumers. They'll probably be very sympathetic towards the plaintiffs rather than the big corporations, right? Likely no sympathy for Dave's company. In fraud cases, plaintiffs also ask for triple damages if the law allows, and for punitive damages to punish the offender so that the offender doesn't do it again. This is why these types of lawsuits tend to run into the several millions. Now, let's examine the conspiracy claim. A conspiracy is people coming together and making a plan to accomplish a common end or common goal. Conspiracy is more of an intentional thing. So is misrepresentation, by the way, but sometimes people can negligently misrepresent something. But when it comes to conspiracy, there would be intentional effort and intentional actions to come together, make a plan, and then execute that plan. So this lawsuit alleging conspiracy, that's a big deal because the threshold to get to a conspiracy is intentionality, and also premeditation. Did Ramsey actually know that the timeshare exit company was not going to deliver, or that it didn't truly intend to help people, was just going to collect money from millions of people and, run off with the money? I personally don't think so. I mean, that would be shocking. I work in the legal field myself and understand that you never really know what people are thinking or what people are capable of until you see the evidence. I will do other videos as more information comes up in the case. I'm going to try to get the court documents to review them as more evidence comes in, and then we can all determine by reviewing the evidence how we are leaning. As far as Dave's involvement goes, are we leaning towards a conspiracy or just negligent misrepresentation? Are we leaning towards recklessness or negligence to perform due diligence, or simply a failure to disclose? Are we leaning towards no duty at all for the Ramsey Show to have done any investigation on this company? No duty to disclose being paid to promote the company. Let me know your thoughts. From what I understand, a lot of listeners contacted the Ramsey Show complaining about the timeshare exit company. Even since before 2021, it appears that Ramsey still kept endorsing this company for a couple more years after the complaints from listeners. So I do think that if we are going to break down the timeline, I would lean more towards the end of the relationship there, maybe by 2019 or 2020. Ramsey should have realized that this company was no good. This is if there were truly several people contacting the Ramsey company saying they were defrauded by the timeshare exit team. That, I think, would carry more weight than a general duty for Ramsey to do due diligence. If people actually complained to Dave's company about the timeshare exit team, then I think there should have been due diligence at that point and maybe a severance of the relationship. At the very least, Ramsey should have emphasized that he does not endorse them anymore. Or, if he continued endorsing, should have told listeners to do their own research. Should Ramsey have really done a lot of research on this company before throwing their name out there over and over again because he's such an authority with his listeners? Do you think that there should actually be a duty like that for all of the other big YouTube personalities or public personalities out there who are endorsing products or companies? Do you think they should have a duty to do due diligence and make sure that the companies or products are legitimate and solid before they promote them? Lastly, do you think that $30 million is a lot of money to get paid if in fact Ramsey got that? The Timeshare Exit Team seems made about $200 million overall, while they were in operation to get people out of the timeshare contracts, but allegedly not really doing anything promised. What I also saw in the complaint is that this company actually filed fake documents into the property records, or at least presented fake documents to the customers to convince them that they had done the work, to falsely tell them that they were released from their timeshare contracts. If true, that's pretty wild. Next, I'll show you what a sample timeshare contract looks like, so you understand why they're really bad to begin with. On top of that, what I've learned from many people that have had timeshares is that it's very, very difficult to book your vacation around the times that you're allotted. A timeshare, as you may know, is a fractional ownership in a building, such as a luxury apartment complex, resort, hotel, etc. It's a fractional share of real estate. So a buyer essentially might own part of one unit of a 100-unit hotel. This means the buyer cannot have possession of the unit all year, since there are other fractional owners. Let's say I agree to pay $50,000 for my timeshare, which is in a hotel, and the whole hotel might cost maybe $20 million. So my $50,000 doesn't really buy me much. It buys me a tiny, tiny little fraction of one room or suite. My ownership gets me the opportunity to stay in that room maybe 2 weeks out of the year, depending on what kind of deal I have. I have to then book ahead of time the times that I want to go use my property, which is when the other fractional owners are not using it. Against one of Dave Ramsey's companies. We will also use this opportunity to show viewers what a timeshare contract looks like and why they are usually a bad idea. You won't always get the times you want, and it's very difficult to plan your vacations precisely to when those rooms are available. You are paying for a tiny little piece of property that you can't ever sell and never get to use. And when you do get to use it, the rooms are rarely the best. The contracts last forever and the interest rates are ridiculous. These days, where average rates are around 7%, timeshares will be almost double. And if the buyer misses payments and goes into default, that rate can be up to 18%. They last for 20 years plus, similar to a regular mortgage. Here is an example, which is an excerpt from an actual deed of trust for a timeshare that a client purchased in 2015. Unless the buyer is paying cash for the full purchase price, there will be a loan involved, and the deed of trust is what shows how much the loan is for and the terms of payment. As you can see, the buyer borrowed $21,510 at an interest rate of 8.25% and is supposed to make 240 monthly payments over a 20-year term. This cost sheet is also part of the contract and reflects the true sale price of $59,812 when we add the financed amount, interest, taxes, and other hidden costs. What first appears to be a $21,000 purchase is really close to a $60,000 purchase. Most buyers are later unable to keep up with payments. The timeshare companies are aggressive and will sue buyers, so buyers beware. Well, that's my video for today. Hope you enjoyed it. If so, please subscribe to my channel. Also leave comments on other topics you'd like. I'll provide update videos on the Ramsey lawsuit and do other videos that will be of interest to you. Thank you, and stay curious, my friends.